Sports Roundtable.
What up, what up, what up? It's the second hour of the show. It's time to get to our real. This is a famous segment because we got our man in studio. But we finna get into the college basketball sports roundtable, SRT roundtable discussion.
What up, dog? What up, Sparty? What up, dog?
Sparty is in the building.
No doubt. Sparty as well. Sparty party.
My man.
Yeah, man.
92.9 is the game. Listen, when you see the guy, you know college basketball is heating up. And we got a lot to talk about, college basketball. Your thoughts, Tate, on the first month of the season thus far? Your notes, your thoughts, help us out.
I've liked it, personally. I mean, that might not be saying much just because that's what I do, that's what I love, but I think the fact that you have, it's such a forward or big or front court dominant year this year, especially with a lot of young guys, traditional bigs, not just guys. I mean, you're talking about guys that can play with their back up against the basket, guys that's facing the basket, guys that can step out and shoot, guys that are hungry. I mean, I haven't seen this type of year yet where you have so many bigs that are so talented, whether it be, Bagley or Jaren Jackson or DeAndre Ayton or Brandon McCoy or Mo Bamba. I mean, the list goes on and on for a lot of teams that can get some really good quality bigs with tons of potential. I think that it's, for me personally, I think most people with a consensus would agree or should agree that Duke and Michigan State is the two top teams, and then I think it's kind of everyone else. So from there, instead of saying is it this team or that team, my biggest question I would propose to people who love college basketball as much as I do, if there's a such thing, and probably not, where do you stand when it comes to winning a national championship, either Duke and Michigan State versus the field? And I just clearly like Duke or Michigan State to cut down the nets in San Antonio. So that's just kind of what I've seen. Comparing Arizona's 3 losses that they took, three straight losses in the Bahamas at the Battle for Atlantis, and they were number 2 ranked at the time, and then went unranked the following week, deservedly so. I can understand that. I get it. But Florida took 3 losses, and then they remained in the top 25. So I don't know where that stands. I'm not the biggest fan of that. But then you've got consecutive teams. I mean, you've got teams taking consecutive losses. Kansas took 2 straight losses. Cincinnati took 2 straight losses. Purdue took 2 straight losses. And I mean, some of those teams, Cincinnati starting to turn. All 3 of those teams actually. Well, adding Arizona, starting to turn it around a little bit. We haven't seen what Kansas is going to do yet. But that has kind of struck my mind a little bit. Also, we haven't talked about the 30-second rule on the shot clock. We went from 35 to 30. I think guys are kind of settling into that 30-second shot clock now, trying to get a little closer to the NBA. But I think that has been better for college basketball outside of the talent. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Kansas, who's already won, 13 consecutive regular season championships. Will this finally be the year, maybe, after we've seen some of the miscues of Kansas, that someone knocks them off their perch?
Texas A&M?
I'm still gonna stick with Kansas. Texas A&M and the SEC.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but I'll still stick with Kansas until it's shown otherwise. And last but not least, these student sections that's counting down the shot clock before the shot clock is actually being counted down to 0, and some of these players falling for it. I need to see a little bit better IQ out of some of these players and pay a little bit closer attention to the shot clock and not so much the home field advantage, or home court advantage. But that's just the beauty of basketball and college basketball, is you get those student sections. I mean, for the people who can't stand and got sour grapes and gripes about college basketball, you have to just take in everything. Those atmospheres make a huge difference.
Now, to Arizona's point, they are being investigated. They had some scandals going on throughout in the offseason with one of their assistant coaches, Louisville also, and USC. USC was highly ranked at the beginning of the season. So do you kind of contribute those investigations to the downfall of USC and Arizona at this point in time, or are you just like, man, you know?
Maybe some. I mean, at the end of the day, how much do the players really care? I mean, the players is going out there to play so that they can get a check in the next 365 days, ideally for the average guy. Now, we know that won't be the case for every player, but I think that that's kind of the mindset in which it should be. Maybe not in 365 days, but or if you can, all of us would like to get paid faster if we could. So,
yeah.
But from a X's and O's and the way that coaches break down plays in the game and just in general how they approach the game, probably most importantly, with that stuff kind of lingering in the back of their minds, I think that it does kind of have an effect in a sense, because you're still dealing with investigations and a lot of that stuff is still, like I said, just kind of lingering in their minds. So at the end of the day, no excuses. You know, these are teams that got to go out there, especially a team like Arizona, who's expected to be the best team in the Pac-12. They've got a big red target on their backs. And, I mean, Oklahoma State we talked about Kansas maybe being knocked off the perch. They're trying to do something there and maybe win a conference championship. And then USC trying to contend or compete, you know, for the Pac-12 as well, right along with Arizona. Those are the two top teams in the Pac-12. Prior to Arizona State in the beginning of the season. So I think it has a little bit to do with it, but a ton, maybe not a lot. But at the end of the day, I mean, you got to go out there and play just like everybody else. You got to put your tennis shoes, we call them gym shoes where I come from. I don't know what y'all call them in the South, but, you know, sneakers on the East Coast, we call them gym shoes. You got to put your gym shoe on one at a time just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Most surprised team, most disappointed team in college basketball thus far?
Surprise team is obviously probably the consensus of Arizona State, probably. I mean, I think that the number 5 ranking is a bit much, but they're undefeated. They've earned it. They went to Lawrence, Kansas. Not many people do that. They came out with a win convincingly. So they're one of the surprises. TCU and Seton Hall. I really like Seton Hall. They're going to have a tough one coming up with Rutgers real soon, so that's the Battle of New Jersey. But TCU, Jamie Dixon has gone back to his alma mater and is playing very well. Kentucky is on the fence for both. I think they've surprisingly disappointed me a little bit. They've won some games, but they've snuck out of them. However, you got to give credit to teams that are able to still come away with wins. Kentucky has a team that has probably the deepest and most talented front court in all of college basketball right now, and you would probably never really know it. I like what Hamidou Diallo is able to do from a guard standpoint, as well as Quade Green. They don't have a ton of depth at the guard position, but I think that they've been a little disappointing, and they have definitely surprised me from a disappointment standpoint. I think obviously you got Kansas there, but it's still early for them, still premature. We'll see how they bounce back against Nebraska at Nebraska. Minnesota. I think Minnesota came out really strong. I think they'll finish strong. I think they're the second best team.
Remember, I told you they was a good team. But
they're the second best team in the Big Ten behind Michigan State. It's not Purdue or any of those other guys.
Right.
And they'll come to show it once you see them play at home in the barn. Indiana, obviously, but Indiana's got some work to do, especially after getting, Archie Miller, a brand new coach, a brand new system. They play Duke tough, so they're going to play teams tough at home for when they get up for them, but there's times when they won't, and Indiana State was the first team to show that, and last year being Fort Wayne. The last two, Florida with their 3 losses and a bounce-back win against Cincinnati, which they better had won.
Yeah.
And then the last one is probably USC, who has tons of talent, but Andy Enfield ain't did nothing since Dunk City and Florida Gulf Coast. So from that standpoint, I'm almost thinking like they'll get it together soon too. I just don't know how deep of a run, but the biggest year is one of the biggest years probably Kentucky, who I don't think has everything together from a chemistry standpoint and or from a standpoint of just having an identity in general.
All right. Sadly, Michael Porter gets hurt, not going to play this season, freshman season. He was arguably a consensus number 1 or 2 pick coming up in this draft. with him being hurt and with all of the guys we've seen like Alton, Bagley, boy, my man Trey Young, Jesus Christ, he's a monster. Colin Sexton, things of that nature. Who goes number one?
The bag man.
The bag man.
The bag man.
So now, you know the Hawks got the worst record in the league, right?
Okay.
You the Hawks. You happen to get this number one pick. You picking back.
It ain't even a question. However, let me say this.
I'm just trying to get our hopes up.
The Bulls actually have
the worst record. Yeah, I was gonna say that.
But the Hawks are like a half game ahead of the Bulls for the worst record.
Yeah.
They might as well be the worst.
Exactly.
I'll say this much without saying too much. I don't know if I trust the Hawks in making the right decision.
No! Travis Sweet! Come on, man.
I mean, realistically, he did a good job with bringing in John Collins. And I like to think that he'll make the right decision. I'm not sure how much I believe in the Hawks or that the Hawks will make the right decision. There's a kid. Is it Slovenia? Not sure. His name is Luka Doncic.
Luka
Doncic.
The 6'5" shooting guard.
Or a little bit bigger than that, but correct. And he's moved. He's moved around a little bit within the leagues out there in Europe. So he's getting a little bit better competition than he was out there. But I will say as much to say that that sounds like an ideal Atlanta Hawks pick. and me as a Detroit Piston fan, and I don't even want to bring it back up, but we know what they did in their draft.
Can't talk about it
all the time.
But outside of that, I don't know if I trust the Hawks to make the right pick. I know what they like and what fits the system. And honestly, I'm not sure that Marvin Bagley, I call him the bag man, I'm not sure that he fits it. A European player does fit it, but they would be the most idiotic and silliest organization, as nice as they have been to me, of an organization that the Hawks has been. I don't trust them to make the right pick. I think if they get number one and Bagley is there, I think they'll have no choice. But I'll tell you this much. If the Hawks have the number 2 pick and someone else has number 1, and one of those GMs, because we know that GMs have the reputation of making silly decisions. We know that. If Markelle Fultz and some of the other ones haven't shown you otherwise.
Right.
If a GM is silly enough to pass up on Marvin Bagley at number 1 and go somewhere else with it, DeAndre Ayton, whoever, and the Hawks is number 2, I don't trust them to take Marvin Bagley. If they're number 1 and he's there, obviously, because it's number 1, then I can see them taking Bagley. Outside of that, I don't think that they'll take the pull. I can see a DeAndre Ayton or Luka Doncic or someone else before I can see Marvin Bagley. But he's hands down. I'm not going to call him the best player in college basketball. I hate to say that, but I definitely think that he is the number 1 pick for sure.
Going back to the Duke thing, Trayvon Duval, you got him as one of the best point guards. I love Trae Young.
Oh, I love Trae Young.
I love Trae Young.
Awesome family. Awesome family. I talk to his dad weekly.
Yeah.
This dude's a killer. When they be making these comparisons to Stephen Curry, I'm not saying he's as good as Stephen Curry. I want to be clear. But he has a Stephen Curry type of game. Now, that is one that I don't have a problem with shooting the basketball.
Trae Young is awesome.
From far out.
He played Oklahoma.
If you never seen this kid Trae Young play before, this is a real treat. I saw him over at the Peach Jam in North Augusta, South Carolina, and he was the most impressive. I saw Bagley out there. I seen Sexton out there. Everybody in this class, Ayton, you name it. Now he had Michael Porter Jr. on his team, and I told everybody, this kid made everybody's, Michael Porter Jr. this, MPJ that. I said, I get it. He's a talent. He's skilled. I'm making no question about it. However, this kid Trae Young made him look just that darn good. I like Trae Young, man.
Trae Young.
Right now, it's as far as guards in the draft, it's a Colin Sexton, Trae Young competition
right
now.
Yeah.
I always take it with a grain of salt, so I'll check him out. Like I look at
Please
Bagley.
do.
Bagley is legit. I'll give y'all Bagley.
Pretty please check out.
A lot of other folks I've been a little skeptical on, but this I'll check out.
He's lacking in size a little bit, and he can be a defensive liability.
And he got some swag.
But this kid can really
go. He can go.
Trey Young.
Trey Young, number 11 for Oklahoma.
Yes.
And he light skinned.
All right,
and that's always a plus in my book. You light skinned, you already get an automatic. Remember we talked about that free space on the bingo card?
That's it.
That's it right there. You light skinned, boy, and big ears, yeah, you get my vote.
All right, well, I'm going to check him out.
Man, before you go, or before we go, I mean, we got to go with you. Give us a team that could slip up on some folks that ain't nobody paying attention to, kind of under the radar.
I mean, to make a Final Four run, or just to make some
Just to make some noise. Maybe not a Final Four run, but just to make some noise. Just to get somebody attention like,
I think Seton Hall is really good. I really like Seton Hall. I mean, they remind me so much because they're tough. They're not the deepest team in the world. But between Angel Delgado and Powell and Desi Rodriguez and those guys, I mean, those guys can go. Those guys are really good. And then on top of that, you got to see UNLV play. They've got a kid named Brandon McCoy. We talking about all these other bigs.
Yeah.
They've got a kid named Brandon McCoy. Not only go check his game out, but until you can watch him play, because they come on pretty late at night, until you can check out UNLV, go look at some of his numbers. And he's had some really good games. One of them against DeAndre Ayton, who's pretty clear to be a top 5 pick in this year's draft. This is a really deep draft. I like UNLV, and I mean, there's some pretty good teams in the Mountain West too, so they're not just going to be beating up on anybody.
Okay. UNLV and Seton Hall. Now, Seton Hall has played some real decent ball. They kind of remind you of the toughness of a Villanova team back then. You know, a couple of years ago, they kind of remind senior Leighton team, real tough. They rebound well. They blue collar sort of speak. And Xavier kind of puts me in that mindset as well. But Xavier has been on the map. I'm surprised that Cincinnati struggled this part of the year. But I think with exams and things of that nature, these things happen with these teams. Now, after this break, I think Cincinnati is one of the highest scoring teams in their conference, and I think they will bounce back because I think that they have what it takes. I'm not sure about their coach. Their coach kind of crazy.
Can I give you one more free space on the bingo card?
Please
Because I
do.
got a couple of teams I want to throw out there.
Okay.
So you can't say I didn't tell you when this Selection Sunday roll around. Vermont is going to shock some people.
Okay.
Vermont has a really good team. MTSU, Middle Tennessee State, is still going to be right there in the mix of things to try and make another run. Right here locally, Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern has a really good team, and you can never go wrong with teams like with Texas Arlington. You know, those are just about 3 or 4, maybe 5 teams to keep your eyes out and open for.
What about TSU?
I can't go as far as Cincy. I can't give. You know, I'm all for my people, man. But I can't go as far as.
Hey, there's Mike Davis out there. That's his score.
Yeah, Texas State. Yeah.
Mike Davis, Indiana coach.
Yeah.
And UAB for what it's worth.
Exactly. We got to get up out of here. Tate, before you leave, go ahead and give us some shout-outs for you.
Man, shout out to you guys just for having me. My boy D. Will, man, that's listening. Just appreciate everything that you guys, everybody that's listening. Keep supporting SRT, man. Like, you don't do nothing else.
There it is.
Say your prayers before you go to bed, eat your vitamins, and make sure you listen to SRT. And Tate's Take Sports, TATES. TAKE Sports got a really, really awesome podcast coming up, and a really awesome website coming up called Driving Baseline. That's all going to be for 2018. So keep your eyes and your ears open.
There it is. All right, man. I want to shout out everybody who listens. Shout out to Tate. Shout out to D. Will, man. Be safe on that road, man. We about to get ready to get up out of here. You already know. If you don't like it, learn to love it because it's the best thing going today, baby. SRT. Hand, let's roll.
Shout out to Georgia Thunder. I just want to get about 6U team. They 2-0, baby.
There you go.
2-0. Boogie playing like Lonzo. He can't shoot.
Oh, my God.
It's all good. Anyway, Boogie, I'm headed home, baby.
Light skin, baby. Don't forget about them light skins with the big ears. SRT, make sure you keep it up.
It is your main man, H.O. from Bankhead, R.I.P. Mom, R.I.P. BC. And if you love the show,
Tell a friend.
and if you did,
In honor of D. Will. Alabama, stand up!
and we out. Peace.
DJ Crew. Whoa. SR.